Lily, you want to talk about today's trivia question?
I do ask a question at the top of each show, and the trivia question can be any subject, but today we actually have a history question. If you call in with the correct answer, you will win a prize. So today's trivia question is, what industry gave us time zones? And we will answer that at the end of the show.
Hi, thanks
Hi.
for calling Homework Hotline.
Yeah, I'll answer one question and you answer one question.
Okay, do you have an answer
good
to the
deal.
trivia question?
The answer to the trivial question is the railroad industry.
That,
You are exactly.
That's correct.
that's correct. Yay!
I think your prize is somebody will answer your other question.
That's not a great practice.
But
But actually, let's talk about the railroad industry and time
Yeah.
zones. I just think that's so interesting. First off, the fact that time zones are not even 100 years old. That's kind of a new-ish thing. There was no need for time zones before railroads because we weren't traveling so quickly from place to place, and every place just basically set their time based on when the sun was highest in the sky. That was noon. And as you can imagine, noon is at different times depending on where you're at.
yeah.
And so the railroad was the reason why we have to coordinate those times.
Yeah, so
now.
I guess the time zone idea was developed by Sir Sanford Fleming, and he developed it. He actually proposed that we have 24 different time zones. That was based on really just that we have 24 hours in a day, and the Earth is 360 degrees, right? Because it's a sphere. So each time zone represents about 15 degrees of longitude based on that 360 degrees divided by the 24 hours in a day. So that's kind of interesting. I thought how that came about, like where they determined
How
you
they
know, how to
determined where
change
those
the time
lines
zones
are.
every 15.
And of course, there are
Yeah.
some exceptions because there are times. Well, okay, I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, which is Eastern time zone. But if you travel due north to Chicago, it is it's Central time zone, and it I
Be a
don't
little
know.
confusing.
Yeah, so there are some exceptions, of course, but the general
Right.
idea is we're just split into 15-degree segments so that the sun is at the highest point in the sky at noon at
Yeah.
every one of those places.
Well, it does seem like it does create some little confusions, but I do think that it fixes things in a way that back before. So I was reading that when the Transcontinental Railroad was laid down, it ran through 8,000 towns with each with their own time zone or time system.
Time
wow.
based on
their own local,
Yep.
their own interpretation of what was going on with the sun. And so setting up the time zones really served to kind of unify
the
and
world.
make it possible
yeah.
for the railroad to function.
I also thought it was interesting. I was talking about exceptions. So China is the largest country with only one time zone. You would
Wow.
think that, and actually, if you were to divide it the 15 degrees, it should span 5 time zones, but it doesn't. And that would kind of actually, the comparison would be like having New York, Chicago, Denver, and LA all being in the same time zone, which is really interesting. So there are exceptions to it. I mean, but it does. It's a system that works. It unifies us.
Yeah.
So.
Subscribe!
Come on, push the button.
Yeah, you want to.
Do it.